what I did with Cassette and Austin, and I never put my name and purpose, because I was like, I want the content to speak
for itself. That's
more
smart.
More than who I am, right?
Yeah.
Because this is about Austin. Like, I do have, and at some point I do want to create content about
other
me
things
and other things and who I am and whatever. But I thought, like, hey, maybe someone is going through exactly what you went through, and finding this story might help them out at some point.
Yeah, I think your content is very. It's in a world right now where there's a lot of hate and there's a lot of like, there's a lot of rage baiting online. There's a lot of like people post content just to get people mad. Your content is very refreshing. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's very It's very, like I said, it's very infectious. It's very bubbly. And it gives people like stuff to look forward to. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh my God, I want to try that restaurant, or oh my God, I want to try that thing, or oh my God, what's cocktail today? Like what's happening? Like, you know? So it's very, in a weird way, it feels very vloggy, like the way that like YouTubers like to vlog, but it also doesn't feel like a YouTube vlog, because those are annoying too. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not just trying to follow somebody, go through like whatever, but like yours are like very concise, very short, and it's like, I have to tell you something about this thing, and it's like incredible, and that's it. You know what I mean?
And to me, it's like finding a viewpoint where it helps you to do other stuff through my story, but I don't want to put like too much of my story or not. And I've been like trying to experiment a lot with the content, because I know that the smartest way to grow, it's always to have a format and stick to that format.
I agree. That's kind of how we grew ish. But then, yeah.
But then I was like, if I do that, I won't rehearse other skills that I might need.
And you'll get bored.
What?
And you'll get bored.
And I know that's a big problem for me.
Yeah. So
right?
I get bored all the time. I'm like, can I just switch it up? Let me just switch it up, because
switch it up. So I was like, I'm just against all of the marketing advice and all of the social media advice. I'm not gonna follow that, because and you know what? Because the first video that got more views, because I started on TikTok, and I started like doing things the way other people did it. And I was like, this is not working. This is like, it's and I don't feel like the energy on this. And I remember, because a lot of people think or like to think that I am, that my dad pays for rent, or that I have a husband or whatever. And I was like living on my savings. And I was like,
they think that? Why do they think that?
Because I don't know, they had put me on comments in the very beginning.
People are just upset. People are just upset.
I know, but
that's what it is. People are just
if they knew that I'm living on my savings and I'm doing this for the art, because I love it, right? And the first video that I did was like, okay, what's the cheapest supermarket in Austin? Because I don't know the answer to that, and I want to know.
Yeah.
And the moment that I broke out of like the status quo was the first video that I really saw results, and I really saw like people engaging, and that's how I know that sometimes certain videos are just popped into my head of stuff that need to be talked to. Like the most recent one was the eggs. Like I did.
Oh, I saw that.
You saw that, like, and I had the idea of that video for months. For months.
That's how long it takes sometimes.
And at some point, but I kind of understood that it wasn't the right time for that idea to like be created. And at some point, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do the video about eggs, and it went.
Yeah, you picked the perfect time.
But
it was the perfect time.
But I was like, oh yeah, eggs are a topic, and I really want to talk about this, and to me, it's not about like. It's something that needs to be talked to, and something that needs to be like out there, and people need to understand, and maybe something that feels really banal as eggs, but what's behind it and what it means, and that, what we were talking about, every time that you purchase something, it means something.
Yeah. I read this study, this stat the other day, that if 36% of people raise chickens, if 36% of the United States population just had chickens, that egg consumption in high production farms would drop down like almost 75%, I think is what I heard.
Wow. And I didn't know that, like, in the Travis County, if you have chickens, that gives you, like, a tax.
A tax deductible. Yeah, I know a whole bunch of friends that have chickens. I get eggs from some of my friends.
I want a house now.
because yeah,
I want a patio to get chickens.
because they'll be like, hey, we have a lot of eggs. They have like 4 or 5 chickens. Like, hey, we have a lot of eggs. You guys want eggs this week? And they'll be like, yeah, sure. And they'll just give me eggs because their chickens just keep having eggs. They're like, what the fuck are we gonna do with all these eggs? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, of course. and to me, it's like, well, it's eggs, but then what happens with meat and what happens with produce, and and you're I'm starting to get curious about understanding what we really put into our bodies. And I know that I might be like not the best person to say this because I make a lot of videos about eating going out.
Yeah.
Pero lo que mucha gente no sabe es que para yo hacer esos videos tengo que cuidar mi alimentación muchísimo.
Sí.
O por lo menos trato de hacerlo. Y yo dije, bueno, ¿qué hacer en Austin? No quiero que sea puro blog de comida, a pesar de que me encanta la comida, me encanta comer fuera. Creo que es un compromiso con mi alimentación y con mi cuerpo primero, ¿no? Y por eso muchos eso sí me ponen mucho de que, ¿cómo le haces para estar así, no? Porque te la vives comiendo. No me la vivo comiendo. Es que lo que ustedes no ven es que a veces de lunes a viernes yo como súper limpio para el fin de semana sí probar y porque creo
como
que
dice, para perrear.
Exactamente. Y porque creo que así es la vida, ¿no?
Sí.
Bueno, vamos a tener un balance, no puedo estar comiendo todo el tiempo afuera.
Sí.
Y creo que también recordar eso, porque a veces en tiempos de Instagram
y la gente bien metiche. ¿Por qué quieres saber cómo vivo? Y cómo es que pago y cómo que yo oigo la gente.
Pero creo que
se me encabrona.
Pero son dudas válidas, ¿sabes? O sea,
¿Tú crees?
Sí creo. Creo que estamos migrando a un tiempo donde el contenido tiene que ser más auténtico, donde tenemos que ser más reales, donde bueno, por lo menos para mí, ¿no? El entender que el tener la bolsa, el tener el carro, no te van a dar esa felicidad. Y no quiere decir no quiere decir que no esté mal que lo quieras, ¿no? Porque yo no estoy diciendo que tienes que vivir con 0 presupuesto. No.
Sí.
Yo lo que creo es que el aspirar muchas veces solo a cosas materiales no te trae la felicidad.
Agreed.
Y lo mismo es lo contrario, ¿no? También pura parte espiritual. Creo que es encontrar el balance que nos funcione a cada quien.
Sí.
Pero creo que, sobre todo en redes sociales, se glorifica mucho el estar siempre de vacaciones. Ir a comer en el restaurante que está de moda, el ir al bar que está de moda, el pedirte no sé qué, el ir al concierto, bla, bla, bla. Y a veces, estando en todo eso, no te sientes tan feliz, ¿no? Porque se termina sintiendo como un tengo que hacer esto, porque si no estoy on trend, ¿no? Y a veces como de, no importa. No importa, ¿no?
Yo
y el
creo
darnos
que
esa libertad y el verlo en videos y el verlo y el platicarlo con personas y el entender eso, creo que por lo menos a mí me dan muchas ganas de compartirlo.
Yo creo que el alma que tú hablaste tú del alma, rather, let me say it this way. Let me say it this way. I think it's very obvious whenever I see your content that it's not about what's trendy, and that the soul of your voice really stems from what you talked about earlier, which was I know that I can belong anywhere because I know who I am. And I know that anywhere that I am, it doesn't matter if it's a fancy place or a hole in the wall or a mom and pop shop or a new restaurant or experimental thing, or if it's picnic in the park, I know that I can make that a good time. So I think that mantra is really the soul. Is really the soul of your brand. Like I can feel it. I can feel that that's in the spirit of everything that you do. And I think that's part of why people have resonated and its authenticity is received very well. At the same time, though, I also am not going to let you walk away from getting this credit from me. I know you probably won't say it to yourself, but I also think it's partly you. Like, you are incredibly easy to like. You are very, because you're very bubbly. You're, again, like the best word that I have for, like, when I think about you, I just think you're just an infectious person. I think like I want to hang out with you just so that I could just feel like I like have a good time. I think you'll just revive my spirits for the day. You know what I mean? So I do want to give you credit in that regard, because I do think that if and that's why I kind of asked you at the beginning, like, do you do it on purpose, or is that just your like natural way of being? And you saying that it's your natural way of being is like so refreshing to me, because it just means that you just are being yourself, and that you are a true testament to by being yourself, you give others permission to enjoy being themselves also.
Yeah.
So I think what you do is very powerful in that regard, and I think that that's all of that combined together. I think is why your success has been so